Hey everyone, it's Richard Metal Fan here, bringing you guys another old school album review, continuing the Sevendust discography review. Yeah, I know I kind of look like a freaking bum because no, I had been working all day. I actually started a new job today, but that's what this video is about. Today we're going to be talking about Animosity by Sevendust, the band's third album released on November 13th, 2001 through TBT Records. Now, this was the band's third album, following up their second album, Home. And I feel like with Animosity, I mean, Sevendust, for me, like I didn't even mention it before in the two reviews of the self-titled Home and a bunch of other ones I have done in the past, is that I feel like they have like a formula, but or that they stick with, but they pretty much have done it well. They don't really try to stray from it. But I feel like with Animosity and probably even their next album, Seasons, which I'll talk to, I feel like they're kind of like going in like more of a more of a commercial sound, and I definitely has a little bit with the Animosity, but definitely on the next album, which we'll talk about. Like production wise, it's pretty great. Like Sevendust for me always has great production, and just vocally, Lejean just sounds great. He has like moments where he just sounds pissed off and angry, and some moments where he just sounds really great singing wise, like very emotional and stuff. Guitar wise, Clint Lowry and John Connolly just has some really basic riffs, and the bass from Vinnie Hornsby is pretty audible. It's definitely heard well in the mix, and Morgan Rose can do a really great job on the drums, and especially when he does his background screams on a lot of these songs, like you could definitely hear it. It's very different from LJ screams. So, without further ado, let's dive into this album track by track. Now, starting things off is TOAB, which stands for Tits on a Boar, which I don't even know, man. Now, this sort of starts off with some kind of like weird noises until like the band kicks in at full force around 20 seconds. And then the verse is pretty great and has some really heavy guitar riffs. And the chorus is kind of almost similar to like the verses, but it almost sounds a little bit faster and with Morgan screaming in there. And it's a really great heavy song, one of Sevendust's heaviest songs, and a really good way to start off this album. A great opening track. Then we move on to Praise, which is one of the first singles released from this album. But man, it just has some really great vocals from like LJ, Clint, and Morgan. Like and I especially love like the bridge in there. It kind of feels a little bit weird, but it's a good song nonetheless. Moving on to Trust, which is a very mid-paced, kind of like slower song that we've heard so far after two songs. I feel like Trust kind of like goes a little bit more of a slower, but not too slow, but it's very kind of mid-paced. It starts off with like a fade in guitar and has some really heavy bass and guitars in the intro, which is like mellowed out, especially like the verses with like drums and bass and the vocals, especially near the end. There's like an aggressive pre-chorus and a perfect transition to a calmer heavy chorus. Chorus. I think chorus. But anyway, it goes back to the verse, second chorus, yada yada. And I especially love like Morgan when he screams trust, especially right before the chorus in there. It just sounds really just heavy. And overall, one of my favorite songs from the album. Next song on the album is called Crucified, which starts off with 5 seconds of like eerie noises, and then the distorted guitar comes in and it pretty much brings in the whole band, and has a very melodic chorus with like some catchy lyrics. Then we move on to Xmas Day or Christmas Day, whatever you want to call it as. It has some acoustic guitars and drums that start off the song. But lyrically, this song has nothing to do with Christmas or at all. And it's a pretty good song. I think this is like the first like Sevendust acoustic song. And it has actually Clint Lowry actually doing sharing like lead vocal, especially like the first bit of the song, and then LJ sings the second bit of it as well. Well, and then I feel like Clint's voice is really great in here. Dead Set. Now the intro is pretty simple but heavy, still heavy and catchy, and the verse is kind of like a little bit tamed down. And I really think the chorus is pretty much amazing here. It's just perfect. The guitars go together and the drums are great, and Lejean's vocals are great as well. Shine is it's I don't know. I feel like it will kind of like it sound like it goes in out ear one out the other. There I feel like it kind of like goes like alternating signs of like a muted undistorted guitar, and then it picks up for the verse as like most Sevendust songs do, and it blows into a chorus. It has some fast drumming, really great riffs in here. There, I feel like the drums and bass kind of like stand out a little bit more, but still kicks ass. Then we move on to Follow. Now it has a little bit of a drum intro followed by a little bit of soft guitars and bass. And Lejean's lyrics are pretty great in here. Like, time can take everything that surrounds you. You can break from everything that confines you. Look into my eyes, I will guide you. And this song actually also has a guest appearance from Aaron Lewis from Stained. And he does a pretty great the job like harmonizing with LJ in here. Pretty good song. Moving on to Damaged. Now there's like starts off with some like synths and guitar, which kind of like takes the lead for like 18 seconds, and then it turns into like just bass drums and LJ and Morgan sort of like doing like the trade-off vocals, especially singing and screaming, and then bringing in the guitars, and especially her Heavy as Hell followed by the chorus, and another great song. Live Again, which is another highlight of this album. Kicks off with a full band, just heavy the intro, a lot of drums, especially in the verses, and it has a soft pre-chorus and a damn good chorus. And yeah, another good vocals from Lejean. Beautiful, which kind of starts off with a high-picked distorted guitar and then it leads into the chorus and it slows down for it. It just sounds pretty weird, but overall it's a pretty good song. Redefine. Now this one, it sounds a little bit different than what we've heard so far from Animosity. See, I feel like they think they're kind of like going in one direction. They kick it back with some good old Sevendust with heavy riffs and great lyrics. It's in here. It's just a pretty interesting song. I feel like in my opinion, I feel like this is kind of like where Sevendust sort of experiments a bit. And then the album closes with Angel Sun. Now this song is really good. This was originally appeared on the Straight Up compilation album as like a tribute to Lynn Straight from the band Snot, who had died in a car accident, probably around the late 90s. And it's a completely acoustic song, and it kind of has a little bit of a southern vibe, especially has like shared vocals from Lejean and Clint. And I think it's a pretty interesting way to close the album. It's very emotional, very powerful song. So overall, Animosity by Sevendust, it's another great album. Like, a lot of people would consider this to be their favorite Sevendust albums. I kind of have to agree. It's a really damn good album. So if I give this album a score, I'm probably going to give this a solid 10 out of 10. It's a really great album. I remember my buddy Scott Bowling over at Good Company, he actually interviews bands. He actually interviewed Lejean, Clint, and Morgan a couple times, and he said his favorite album, and I can understand why. It's really great. It has like this typical formula, but still, I don't know, it's just something about it is just catchy. So yeah, and shout out to you, Scott, if you're by any chance watching this. So yeah, thank you guys for watching this video, and I'll see you all in the next one, and as always, keep it metal.